Hello everyone and welcome to Otaku Go, an otaku cultural series here on the Gunpla network. As always, I'm your host, The Spicer, and we'll be taking a look at a rather interesting figure today. If you've been part of the gacha game crowd, or just anime or manga in general for a while, you know the infamous beach episode is something that pretty much touches everything in the otaku culture. And that is no different here with Ishtar, the summer swimsuit version from the summer special events that happen in Fate Go. And this, I actually think, is, oddly enough, a more tasteful Ishtar than what we get normally. And this is the Sega SPM Ishtar special edition, just to kind of clarify that. But this version at least has the hoodie that covers most of her torso, whereas typical Ishtar is more of like a bikini situation. The leg warmer is still there, but more aesthetic, if you will. It matches the pink of the hoodie and the little white frills everywhere. And generally, this is a really nice figure. There are a lot of things here that we didn't really get, oddly enough, on Riku or MASH. Now, if we're taking a look at everything in general, this is a really nice figure. There are some things that I would kind of like to see done a little differently, but generally for a $20 to $30 price figure, this is done phenomenally well in my opinion. Now, from the shading to the sculpt, everything is pretty on point, but let's go ahead and take a look starting from head to toe and see more specifically what we get. Now, in terms of the head, the crown is very nice, the face is nice, the eyes are immaculate, and the hair has an incredibly nice gradient from a black to a nice dark blue. This is all wrapped around the race flag that has a nice flow to it, but does bend fairly easily and has a couple of scuffs, at least on mine, and with it being so close to the hair, I would imagine that's a fairly prevalent thing to happen. But really, the hair covers a lot of that, so you don't really see it until you take it apart for, say, a review. Now, all of that detail is really nice because we didn't get a lot of shading on Riku or MASH in terms of their hair, and this is just done incredibly well. I think the face sculpt is more on point. It's not too hard, it's not too soft, and the eyes really sell it. Those red eyes really pop with the rest of this figure. The only other thing of note on the head is the earrings, which look fine. They're maybe sculpted a little softly, but they're really not a big attention draw for the head sculpt. Now, the overall top half of this figure is phenomenally detailed. I really am super pleased with that shading on the hair. The eyes are done very well. I can't speak enough, but the hoodie itself is actually very interesting as well. The hoodie, it's got a couple of different things. Not only is it a nice pink that has some shading on it as well, it's got some white frills along the top of the hood and down some of the string a little bit here and there. You have a little bit of the bow from her bathing suit underneath popping through the hoodie, but we don't really get to see much more than that. Down the right-hand side of the hoodie on the arm, we have an insignia for the Heavenly Boat Mana, which is typically what Ishtar rides on or uses as kind of a primary weapon in Fate Go. And on the other side, you have an insignia for the Bull of Heaven, also something that Ishtar's associated with. Since this came from a special event summer race swimsuit thing, she's obviously not using those two items, so it is kind of nice that they played a little bit here on what they are, some of Ishtar's lore, and incorporated them into this swimsuit design, which is really just more of a hoodie, but it is still really nice, and I actually prefer this design of Ishtar to pretty much any other version of Ishtar. As we move down, the legs are pretty bare with the exception of the leg warmer, which is fairly reminiscent of Ishtar's regular outfit. This is, of course, done in the summer swimsuit edition aesthetic, so it's pink with some of the shading, it's got frills on the top, it's got a garter on it, it has red straps on it for some reason. Functionally, I don't think they actually do anything, I think they're just a nice little pop of color down there. And then you have black ribbon, both on that and on the other leg down by the ankle. The way the feet are actually plugged into the stand, they have a little clear piece, so it's like she's walking kind of up on the fronts of her feet, kind of as if she was wearing heels. And it does help the legs look a lot longer. Ishtar does look fairly tall comparative to some of the other Fate Go figurines I'll have, and I'll show you guys that in a second. But this is done really well. A lot of thought was put into how this figure was going to be posed, how it's going to be sculpted, how it's going to be painted, and they really hit the nail on the head here. I would say the race flag's kind of the most meh part of it, but generally the figure itself, Ishtar as a character, is done very well in pose and paint. Now, I have to say that this is actually a figure that does something really well that some figures don't. And this is kind of something I've had issues-wise in the past with like C2 figures in particular, a lot of Code Geass figures oddly enough, that some of the characters in those shows are sexualized, right? But C2 largely isn't. Sometimes she is, but she's usually not the main target of fan service. But a lot of her figures are just super sexy figures, and Ishtar actually kind of reverses that in a way. Ishtar, at least in terms of cut and design, in Fate Go lore, is usually wearing a bikini-style suit, basically. It's just kind of top to bottom, and the leg warmer, of course, then all her headgear and her jewelry and such, her accessories. But it's kind of nice to throw that on its head, put the hoodie on, but still have the hints of the swimsuit in the tops and the bottoms popping out a little bit, so you still have an idea of what's going on, but really not making that the main focus of the figure, and I quite like that. This is something I feel like the design overall, personally, is something I like better than Ishtar's regular design. I feel like it's got a little more personality to it. But as we take a look at Ishtar here lined up against some of my other Fate Go ladies, we kind of see that she kind of likes to be the center of attention here. She is, I would say, by far the most notable, other than, say, Masha's shield being very large and very noticeable. She grabs a lot of attention with the pink, the flowing hair, the race flag, the design in general being fairly tall because she's got the extra little help in the stand. Overall, I'm very pleased with this. I know you guys probably have figured that out by now, but this out of my Fate Go, which is not, I'm going to say huge, it's not a huge collection, but is a prize figure in comparison to MASH, or either of the Ritsukas, or even the Banpresto, Saber, or Lancelot I have. This is probably my favorite Fate figure I have. Like I said, I don't have a lot of them, but this I feel like is done fairly well, and comparatively speaking, looks quite a bit better. She's kind of the mainstay of my Fate Go section on my shelf, and overall, I have to say, if you're a fan of Ishtar, or you've liked Ishtar or Rin, because it's just basically Rin, but really weren't a fan of the Ishtar costume, this is a good alternative, and gives you something a little bit different to look out on your shelf. Let me know in the comments down below if you have this figure or different Ishtar figure and your thoughts. Do you like Fate Go? Do you hate Fate Go? Or do you really not care or understand or care to understand any of the Fate franchise? Danik and I will be more than happy to talk to you guys in the comments about all of that and more. But as always, friends, I'm the Spicer here on Otaku Go, here on the Gunpla Network. Please stay safe and keep on building.